Hello and welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm your host, Maya Schneider. And before we introduce this week's guests, I just want to remind you that if you're interested in volunteering at the TTC TV studios, we're interested in having you down here. Please call 582-1194 for information on how you can lead the glamorous lifestyle that we all lead here at the Channel 6 studios. And now I'd like to introduce you to this week's guests. We have with us first Tony Lashbrook, Town of Truckee Community Development Director. Nice to have you here,
Nice
Tony.
To be back.
Nice to have you back, I should say. And then we have Erin Banks with Design, Community, and Environment. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming all the way up for the taping of this show. I appreciate that. We're here to talk about the general plan update. But first, I want to start off with you, Erin, and just get a little bit better idea of what is or who is Design, Community, and Environment.
Design, Community, and Environment is a planning and urban design firm. We're located in Berkeley. We have a staff of approximately 15 planners, urban designers, and landscape architects with support staff. We believe, as the name of our firm implies, that all good planning reflects and benefits the community that the design benefits and reflects the community that it's in, that the community desires and input are part of the planning process, and that environmental sensitivity and stewardship are a part of all of the projects that we work on. And we try and bring those three elements into all projects that we do. And this project in Truckee is a particularly good fit for that, because those three elements are a part of why Truckee is such a great place to live, and why what will help make the general plan maintain that quality of life in Truckee.
Well, then let's get right to the core issue. Tony, we have a general plan for the town of Truckee. It was adopted not long after the town's incorporation, but it's already time to be renewed. If you would, step back just a minute and explain, thumbnail sketch, what is a general plan? Why is it so important?
Right. The general plan is really the baseline document that regulates all issues associated with growth and development in the community. So it's the Constitution, often referred to for the community, and from that comes things like the downtown specific plan, the development code, the trails plan, but it's really the baseline for all of those documents. It's fairly unusual to be updating it after just 6 years since it was adopted, but the town has had a major commitment to planning. I think the idea is to keep it very fresh and relevant to what's going on here.
What sort of issues are addressed through the general plan?
Everything from the rate of growth to housing affordability to important environmental resources that merit protection to traffic and circulation issues, historic character, the full range of
pretty much everything
right.
that is Truckee is included in this. Erin, what is your role personally, and what is the role of Design, Community, Environment in assisting the town with this general plan update? They've got a document, several volumes, about this thick. I've had to carry the documents up and down several steps, sets of stairways, so I'm slightly familiar with it. What is your role in updating this document?
Well, first, my role is the project manager for the consulting firm. We are working directly with the town, with Tony and with Dwayne Hall, and we work together closely to develop the scope for the project based on our experience and success in other communities and what fits here in Truckee. We will be sort of the public face of the general plan leadership, guiding the workshops and coming to council meetings, and we'll eventually be drafting the document, looking at the existing document. After this phase one portion, where we've gathered a lot of community input, we'll be looking at the existing document and say, what needs to change, what trends do we need to respond to, and provide something that is reflective of the community.
Now, the town has been incorporated for 10 years. In fact, we just celebrated our anniversary with a special party this week. And in the 10 years since incorporation, our community has changed significantly, but certainly in the last 5 years, really dramatic change. How can a general plan adjust to that kind of volume of change? And how responsive should it be to change?
Well, one of the challenges we face in Truckee is that a lot of the development and change that's occurred over the last 5 to 10 years was based upon land use decisions made a long time ago, in the 70s primarily, is when all the large subdivisions, Tahoe-Donner, Glenshire, were approved. We can't have a big effect on those with the general plan. It's more recognizing that those exist. How can we be strategic in planning for growth and setting aside open space and dealing with transportation to try to address the issues that really come out of this update process. It's really a time to refocus on what are the key issues in the community and what are the opportunities to address those.
And let's talk about opportunities. That's sort of the next word. What do you see, both of you, as some of the opportunities available to the community right now to make some changes or shifts or tweaks, if you will?
I think the opportunities lie in the significant change that have taken place over the past 5 to 10 years, and looking at the need for a broader range of housing types and affordability, addressing that issue, and also looking at the land use pattern that the town inherited when it incorporated, and how to better connect the different neighborhoods, whether we look at providing more neighborhood services in different neighborhoods like Glenshire, Devonshire, and Tahoe-Donner, or if we're looking at better circulation and connection between those areas, just to better integrate those different areas in the community.
The other fundamental opportunity I think that's different in this update that didn't really occur back in '94 when we first started on the first general plan, we did not do a great deal of public outreach in that first effort. There was an assumption made. There had been a county general plan update process going on for a couple of years before the town incorporated. There had been a lot of outreach, and there was an assumption at the time that could be used and used effectively. And I think to an extent it was, but we'll have a much broader opportunity for the public to get involved in this process than people might be expecting based upon the '94 '95 general plan.
Well, and in fact, you've already started some of that outreach. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I'd love to. Yeah. First of all, every Truckee resident received in the mail a newsletter last week. Inside of that was a general plan focused newsletter that looks like that, and inside of that was a survey, and that's really our first step at outreach. And that survey is due back to Town Hall on April 9th, and we've already received about 400 to 500 surveys back, and we're hoping for 1,500 or more.
Oh, that's great.
And the idea with that survey is not to get real specific, to give us some general direction on just what you brought up. What should we be targeting with this update process in terms of possible changes?
Well, let's take a look at that again. I want our audience to be able to take a look. Again, I don't know if that's Patty or Hartley. We're going to get a close-up on this. This is your newsletter, and it came Matryoshka style this year with insert on top of insert. But take a look inside. There's a really important questionnaire in there on the general plan. That's great stuff.
And so inside of that is the survey. We're getting them back, and it's got postage on the back. You just have to fill it out and fold it over and stick it in the mailbox.
Couldn't make it any easier.
It'll get back to us. And we're getting back some outstanding input, and it's right on issues that are near and dear to all of us in terms of the rate of growth and preserving open space and our small town character and all those things. So it's an opportunity to speak out on those issues.
We're going to come back to this, and so let's hold these aside. Okay. Erin, is this typical? Would a community send out newsletters in advance of a general plan update?
Yeah, the newsletters, doing a survey, a comprehensive survey like this is not necessarily typical, and it's really helpful at this stage to get an idea of to gauge where the community is, even before we go into these public workshops, which we'll also talk about, so that when we can start off those workshops saying, well, this is what we've heard from people so far, and this is where we're going to start, and give us input based on that. Are we hearing the right things? Tell us what else we need to hear, and that's where the workshop process will start off.
I think one of the challenges of public input is sort of separating out perhaps a vocal minority from what the majority of the community may be thinking, and trying to discern where does everybody or the most of everybody in Truckee want to be, and how do you do that, or can you do that?
I think it's in just a really broad and inclusive outreach process. Mm-hmm. We're hoping to involve at least 1,500 people in this first phase of the general plan through feedback on the surveys, through the workshops, through input on the website, and through newspaper advertisements and venues like this where there's a dialogue going on about the general plan and people become more aware of it. So we're actually, our firm is very effective in bringing out a lot of people, bringing out more than the usual cast of characters that you see at public meetings in cities all over California. So I feel pretty confident that we're gonna be able to involve people who haven't been involved in the planning processes here before.
And there's already been unusual steps taken, Tony. For instance, there's a website for the general plan update.
There is a website dedicated exclusively to the general plan update. It's Truckee2025.org, and on that you can find the survey and all sorts of information about what's been done to date. So it's a resource that our folks should take a look at.
Well, let's talk about the public workshops. There's going to be a series of public workshops. Let's first of all get those dates up. We'll have them a number of times throughout the show, but if we can show the dates of the upcoming workshops, we do have 4 different workshops scheduled. We want to get those dates up on the monitor and make sure that folks know when they can go to these meetings. Important to attend. What are you hoping to get from those workshops? Will each one have a different theme, Erin?
Yes, we'll start off with workshop 1 is issues identification. As I started describing it, we'll take the survey as a starting point and then ask for more input and work with small groups. We'll have a bigger presentation at the beginning of the workshop, and this will be the pattern for all of the workshops, then break into small working groups where smaller discussions can take place and people's comments can be recorded and fruitful discussions can take place. The second workshop will be providing background on existing conditions and issues in the community. We're working on right now what we call a briefing book, which sort of establishes all of that baseline information, which is also a very important piece of the workshop process, so that all participants come in with the same amount of information, the same information, the same amount, and that's a really important part of having an effective public participation process.
General Plan 101.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And at that second workshop, we'll also present case studies of other communities that are dealing with similar issues and how they've dealt with them. The third workshop will look at the existing town vision and examine that and get input on ways in which it should possibly change if there are ideas that aren't represented in it right now. And the fourth workshop will be sort of a summary of the whole 4-workshop process. And it'll be what launches us into the general plan update. So the workshop process essentially identifies what those major issues are that we really need to be focusing on for the general plan update, what those sort of changes in course might be that the town needs to look at.
The big global issues.
Right.
Now, Tony, you have sort of a unique challenge. I don't know if it's unique to the kind of work that you do, but it seems a tough challenge anyway. I recall a couple of years ago, the town council looking at its priorities and putting a little asterisk next to a number of them that were just sort of slotted for, well, we'll look at this during the general plan update. So you have a list of tasks to sort of look at inclusive of that. How do you manage all of this?
Well, I mean, there's a couple biggies out there. Probably, one of the top ones is just affordable housing. And we have state mandates to deal with, and then we have our own well-defined issues, and it's a very high priority of the council in terms of trying to address really what's happening to our housing affordability over about the last 5 years as our real estate market has gone kind of wild in terms of value. The other, I think, topical issue will be really just the rate of growth and change in our community and what strategies the general plan might come up with to deal with that. I think what's really interesting about this process that the Town of Truckee has set up is we haven't gone into this update with a preconceived notion of what the agenda is. In fact, this whole phase 1, which is all we're talking about today, is designed to define what the general plan update will focus on. And so, I guess I could really make a sales pitch that public involvement now will have a very significant effect on the focus of the update. So, now's the time at these workshops in the survey to really spend a little time and identify those issues that are really important to you
This
and
is
your
really
family.
the steering time
Right.
for the general plan. Again, let's get those dates up on the screen if we can. Let's show people when those workshops are going to be. Important dates to remember. I'm assuming these are all 6 p.m. at Town Hall. So keep these dates in mind. Important Wednesdays. You'll want to attend these meetings, and you'll also want to send in your general plan survey.
Absolutely.
Tony, let's get back to this. You've already received 500 or 600. That's
Yes.
great.
Yeah. And people, you know, they're putting a lot of thoughts. I just grabbed a pile, you know, a lot of input here, you know, themes coming out. Affordable housing is very important to the survey respondents so far. Open space preservation is very important. Our small town character is very important. I think what I've seen so far, emphasizing a lot of themes of our current general plan, but probably strengthening the focus that needs to be provided in the update. So I think we're going to get a lot of value out of these surveys, but the more responses we get, the better gauge of the community we'll have.
Absolutely. Are you seeing some common themes in the responses you're getting so far?
Yeah, the particular ones, again, would be housing affordability, the rate of growth and change being too rapid, the need to set aside open space being a key issue or preserve it in some way. Martis Valley, which is outside the town of Truckee, is an issue often mentioned in the
Yes.
survey as an area of concern. Those are some of the themes.
And that's an interesting challenge too, and I'm not sure how much of that can be addressed through the general plan update or for that matter this evening in our show. But there are areas just outside of our borders that will have dramatic impact within our borders. And are there any mechanisms in the general plan that can help deal with that?
Well, it's very, I mean, land use is one of the last and strongest responsibilities of local government, and local governments tend to guard that very carefully, just as Truckee wouldn't want someone else wanting to tell it how to do its planning. Placer County or Nevada County feels strongly in those same ways. So our current focus is on cooperative efforts and common themes. We certainly have one in air quality with Placer County. We have a growing one in transportation and addressing transportation issues. Affordable housing is another area where there seems to be some commonality and some commitment to working together.
That's great. It's good to see those partnerships
Right.
starting to form after 10 years. What are some of the challenges that you're going to face, Erin, in this process?
I think the biggest challenge is the community participation and really having an inclusive and effective process. And we've touched on that a bit, but you know, this particular phase in the general plan itself is only going to be as good as the input that we get from the public, and that's, you know, both the town, we need to know that they need to hear what people are thinking and what their concerns are, and folks need to be aware of what's going on with the process, so that 3 to 5 years down the road, as the general plan is being implemented, they know what's going on, and there isn't any sort of you know, questioning of the plan. So the more people that are involved now,
It's really an education opportunity
Right.
as much as an opportunity for people to be involved with the process. And that's a great thing. I'm not sure how many people could understand, just because they're living their day-to-day lives and driving kids to soccer practice and doing their 2 or 3 jobs, the complexity of a general plan and how deep it goes into the roots of what we do every day in the town of Truckee.
right. So this first phase is, we've been emphasizing the community input, but it's also a real education process. We will start off at the first workshop with a summary of these survey results, so everyone will be learning about what the community members think, and then this briefing book, which I mentioned, is really a comprehensive, in-depth amount of information of where things stand in the community.
Okay, now here's the question. How do we grab the people in the audience right now who are going, yawn, where is Survivor? You know, they're just about to change the channel on the television. How do we let them know that this is really exciting stuff? How do we convey that? And can we convey that?
Well, everyone touches the land use process at some time or another. It's often when the project is proposed next door, which is probably the least effective time to try to deal with it. The general plan process, and this is a planner talking, is the most effective time for a citizen to engage in what is kind of a complicated and often boring and kind of unrecognizable process of the overall planning for a community. So I guess my pitch is if you have strong feelings about land use, and my guess is that the majority of our viewers do. And you're trying to measure your time to participate, now's the best time.
All right, well again, let's get that graphic on the screen, show folks the dates that they can participate. And Tony, you mentioned this is just the first phase of the general plan update. We won't have time tonight to go into all the detail, and I'm sure we'll be doing future Truckee Talks on the general plan update. But if this is the update that gets you the steering, then what's to follow after this?
Well, we're going to build that based upon what we see and hear and understand through this phase 1 process. So, it could be anything from a minor, detailed update of our current plan to something more substantial. We know we've got housing issues to deal with in our state mandates in terms of accommodating housing, 1,700 housing units between now and 2008. So we know we've got issues like that we have to deal with. Question is, what other issues are going to be put on the table through this process?
And how much wiggle room is a community provided with a state mandate and county mandates coming down the pike? Where can Truckee be original in its thinking in a general plan? And that may be a big scope question, but for instance, I'll just throw out the housing mandate. We have a number of units that we have to put on the ground. That has to be included in the general plan. How do we work with
it? We have to plan for it, and we have to honestly attempt to certainly meet affordability requirements. And again, that's an issue that's already a top priority. In many communities, it's not. And people in my shoes are trying to figure out ways not to make it happen. I think here, the community interest is already on those tracks, and the question is, where should we be targeting our housing resource? Should it be affordable for purchase,
right,
or should it be rental? More workforce housing. What should it be? And that's an area we can spend a lot of energy in this general plan update.
So that's where we can be creative.
And where that new housing is located and targeted. What parts of the town?
Erin, any final thoughts from design, community, and environment before we cut you loose to go do all these workshops?
I, at the beginning didn't mention when we first heard of this project, it was about the most popular project in our office to work on and to hope that we get. And I and the other folks in my office that are working on it, the three of us, are the envy of everybody else because everyone wants to work on this project. So I just like the community to know how interested and excited we are about this opportunity.
Hear. That is great to hear. I think every Truckleadite knows what a special community we live in, and it's nice to share that with other people. Tony, thank you so much for being on today's show again.
Thank you.
I wish you luck with the general plan update. Erin Banks, I know we'll be seeing more of you, and good luck with this project.
Thanks.
Again, upcoming workshops, keep your eye out in the Sierra Sun. Look on the website, truckee2025.org, or look in your mail for the update from the town of Truckee. This is important stuff, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with community updates, so stay tuned. And welcome back to the show. Before I get into the calendar of upcoming events, I want to introduce Morgan. Morgan, welcome to the show. Say hi.
Hi.
Tell us what you're doing next month.
I'm going to Disneyland and stuff, and I do a lot of things,
And when you're in Disneyland, is there something special you want to try to do?
yeah,
What's that?
because I'm big enough to go on all the rides, but not some rides.
So you can go on most of them.
Yeah,
And what about the sword and the stone?
yeah,
Yeah? You going to try to pull that sword out?
yeah,
And what happens if you do?
you become king.
You might be king of the world next month.
Mm.
What will you do when you're king?
Maybe have a great time.
Yeah, I think maybe you will. Morgan, thank you for joining us on the show. I'm going to tell these folks about what's coming up, so just sit tight, okay?
Okay.
All right. He's a star. So here's your calendar of upcoming events in and around our region for the week of March 26th, 2003. On the 28th, you can attend the TAO Education Slideshow on ethical mountain climbing. Presented by the Teachers Association for Outdoor and Adventure Education, this travelogue will explore the ethical complexities of big mountain climbing. The show will take place from 7 until 8:30 p.m. at the Truckee Community Center. Call 550-7252 for more information. And on March 29th, the San Francisco 49ers Foundation holds their Celebrity Ski Classic at the resort at Squaw Creek and Squaw Valley, USA. This is a fundraising event featuring a variety of 49ers players, alumni, and coaches, as well as Olympic medalists, athletes, and other celebrities. Call 581-7188 for information on skiing, auctions, dinner events, and more. And Raiders or no Raiders, if Jerry Rice is there, count me in. On March 30th, you can ski for the schools at Sugar Bowl. $20 tickets sold in advance only are available at all Porter's Ski and Sport retail stores. Call Sugar Bowl at 426-9000. I don't know about celebrities at that event, but keep your eyes open for Darren Ralphs on the slopes of Sugar Bowl. And why wait for spring break in Daytona when North Star at Tahoe features College Week from March 30th until April 6th? Discounted tickets with valid college ID. And Jack, it doesn't say anything here about an age limit, so as long as you're enrolled in school, call North Star at 562-1010. Also, March 30th, get your spoons ready. Morgan, this is going to be a good one for you. The Banana Split Extravaganza will be held at the Tahoe Donner Ski Hill. Kids can help build and then eat a 200-foot long banana split. Are you ready to eat 200 feet worth of banana split? What's your favorite topping?
I'm not sure.
Should have been chocolate, dude. Call Tahoe Donner at 587-9400, and for you adults going, bring the Alka-Seltzer. April 2nd through the 6th is Spring Blast at the local area ski resorts. Call your favorite resorts to see what they're up to celebrate the arrival of spring. And April 5th is a special presentation at the Cal Neva Resort in Crystal Bay. This special event is a benefit for Tahoe Women's Services. Call Tahoe Women's Services at 775-298-0010 for information on this theatrical event. And don't forget Sierra News and Views taping live the 2nd and 4th Thursday of each month. Well, that's it for this week. I want to thank Tony Lashbrook and Erin Banks and Morgan for appearing on this week's show. And I want to thank all of my volunteers for showing up once again. Remember, if you're interested in joining the Truckee Talks team, call me at home at 587-4982 or call the studio at 582-1194. And we'll see you next week on Truckee Talks.